For more, let's bring in former FDA Commissioner Dr. Scott Gottlieb. He's also a CNBC contributor and serves on the boards of Pfizer and Illumina. Dr. Gottlieb, great to have you with us.
Thanks a lot.
This is a report that he's been promising for months. He said by September, we will finally reveal what the cause of the autism epidemic is. Do you believe, based on what you have seen, because there have been other studies on this, that this could be the cause of the uptick in autism cases we've seen in recent history?
Yeah, well, I certainly don't. And even the way it was reported by the Wall Street Journal, they reported that this is going to be one of the things that he suggested there may be a link between this product and autism. I suspect there's going to be other things in that report as well, including perhaps some vaccine ingredients. This has been a very carefully studied question, including a study that was done in JAMA in 2024, I believe, that looked at 2.48 million children. They looked at families, so children and their siblings, and established no causal link between Tylenol use in pregnancy and autism. But it is a subject of a lot of litigation. There's a case pending right now in the Second Circuit that involves 550 families suing for hundreds of millions of dollars. And if that case does prevail, and perhaps if HHS makes a pronouncement like that, that could weigh in favor of the plaintiffs in that case, the litigation would expand dramatically. I do think that there is, some pattern here where we see the secretary getting behind some of these issues championed by the plaintiffs bar. The other one was talc. If you remember, there was some panels that they held trying to look at a link between talc and certain chronic diseases early on. They were held by FDA, and HHS was involved in those as well. Those stopped, and you haven't heard a lot of the discussion around that. I believe that's because, from what I'm told, there was a lot of lobbying at the White House by various parties that use talc, including makeup manufacturers, and they backed away from that. So you could see something similar here, where there's, some concerns and an outcry raised around this, and they try to take a more careful, deliberative process.
What do you make of, there's so much going on, let's put it that way, at HHS and its various agencies that fall underneath it, the CDC as well as the FDA, which you used to head. In terms of the confusion that it may be causing amongst Americans and the doctors who treat them, Senator Cassidy at the RFK Jr. hearing earlier this week cited a letter that he got from a doctor friend saying, we are not sure who we're supposed to give a vaccine to. And I'm wondering, as a doctor yourself, if all of this sort of activity has caused just confusion as to what the guidelines should be for the American public.
Yeah, not just confusion around the guidelines, the clinical recommendations, and there's certainly a lot of confusion around that, but also friction in the marketplace. I think there's going to be a lot of pharmacies and doctors' offices that are unsure how they could dispense these products. There's about 2/3 of the states tied decisions around dispensing in pharmacies to the FDA decision. So now that the COVID vaccines in particular, I think that's what we're referring to, have been approved by the FDA for the season, presumably those states can provide the vaccine at the point of the pharmacy. But about 1/3 of the states rely on ACIP recommendations, so recommendations from the CDC. And those haven't come forth yet. They're not going to come forth until the end of the month in a best-case scenario. And there's a lot of speculation that ACIP's going to come in with more restrictive guidance than what FDA put out. So that could imperil access in those states. Now, you're seeing some states move forward, like Massachusetts, Colorado, for example, trying to obviate their existing statute that ties their decisions to ACIP to try to create more flexibility to pharmacies, and I think that may happen. There's also a question of whether or not self-attestation at the point of the pharmacy is going to be sufficient. I believe it will, but as you recall, the approval was for people under the age of 65 who are at high risk of a severe COVID outcome, and the question is, will patients be able to judge for themselves whether or not they're at high risk and self-attest at the point of the pharmacy? I think they will, but that's still another open question. I think all of these things are going to create a lot of friction in certain places, in certain states.